I need smelling salts.
Are we recording?
Yeah, why not? Because I need to wake up.
I'm so excited that you brought that. I was actually going to shoot you a message. Yeah, I was actually going to shoot you a message and be like, "Hey, will you bring us some cider? I like your cider."
Yeah.
Oh, can we show this to the camera?
Yeah, sure.
See. There we go. Electric City Ciderworks, Old Forge, PA. Unwind and recharge.
Oh, that's a great little tagline.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you need a drip bar Scranton coaster upon which to place your glass?
Here's your drip bar coaster.
So we can protect the table. That's my new venture.
I know. That's pretty awesome.
It's going well.
What a Week podcast. What a Week podcast brought to you by Drip Bar Scranton.
Brought to you by Pfizer. So I love. Here, we'll get everybody in. Dan, did you get a?
Oh, thanks, guys.
Do you have a? Oh, you do have a glass over there.
Yeah, he needs a glass.
Over.
Here, I'll get. Right. There we go. So I wanted you to come on because you seem to be fearless in your commentary.
So
more so now that I'm not politically involved, or as politically involved.
And you watched George last week, and what were your thoughts?
So
crazy person, good person. I think he's a great person.
Yeah. So his ultimate goal is basically to educate the citizenry about what their rights are, and a lot of people are woefully inadequate at even in the governmental positions themselves. Like they don't know what the rules are.
Right.
And so a good example was they had that zoning hearing in the Hill section
for the expansion of the hospital.
They did not follow Robert's Rules of Order, which is how you run a governmental meeting. Yep. They completely botched it. The votes were done like inappropriately, and everybody just carried on because no one knows the rules. And I get that if you're an average person, there's no way. Like the book for Robert's Rules is this thick. So if you want to talk about what your rights are and what you're able to do, it's hard to think about it in literal terms. You have to think about it more in broad terms. So what I took from your interview with Juhas is that basically people need to understand that they have rights, that their instincts are probably worthwhile to follow, especially if you want to be involved in public life.
Yeah.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Now, Mr. Juhas is going to probably know the exact law, but nobody can. The average person just can't do that.
There's too many of them.
Yeah. And I mean, he was quoting common law from the 1700s. Like that's not a thing that people can do.
It's inviolate.
Yeah. So
new term.
So my thoughts are people like him are doing a good public service in that they, especially with that viral video, showing that, hey, these are the rights that you have and you can't, infringe upon them. And I think more people need to be aware of that, because I think when it looks, we're going to talk about the Scranton School Board, which is a train wreck, especially after what happened yesterday. But the people don't even want to run for this office because everything has been so sullied by incompetent people who care nothing for the rules. Or they're worried about their next political office, the next step up. Like they're not concentrating on what's correct. They don't even know what's correct. They just, reward their crews and cronies and call it a day.
I don't, maybe you guys can agree or disagree with me. It seems really bizarre to me that you'd want to have an office like that where it's the most, literally, it's like the next generation and you don't take it seriously. Like I'm doing a political campaign now where like, the one candidate is new, but they want to know everything they need to know. And they're like, I want to know everything so that like, if I do get elected first day, I'll be more equipped to do the job.
Yeah. So for some of them who are there, it's like a vanity project. It's an ego thing. Some, are there good-hearted people like Ty Holmeses of the world? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're few and far between. And because everything gets so badly poisoned, then the average person who, again, isn't going to even know the game necessarily, isn't even want to try to learn because they're so put off by things like what we saw yesterday in the paper.
So I wanted to talk to you about the PTA thing.
We could talk about that too.
But then that happened.
There was one crazy school board story.
Yeah.
And there's another one.
Beat by another one within a week.
Within a day. Yeah. Within like 1 or 2 days.
It's absurd. So what ended up happening was there's a lovely gentleman, George Roskus is his name, and a friend of his, Sean Bingham, both of them, big West Side advocates.
Yeah.
And they offered. Go Knights. Yeah. They offered.
What a week, everybody.
There you go. Yeah, sorry, we bleed blue over here.
Yeah.
That's okay. Somebody's got to come in second.
West Side. West Side.
Wait, you're from West Side too, or no?
Yeah. My family is, and now I reside there. So
You went to Abington, you snob.
not the whole time, just high school. And well, anyways,
Finishing school, as they call it there.
yeah. Here, Dan, show my nails. Okay, keep going.
So they offered to bus all of like anybody who wanted to go from the school to the district championship game that West made it to. So they offered to pay for all that. And then they
Is this
also
wrestling? What sport is this?
basketball.
Basketball.
So
okay.
It's the one with the orange ball and the hoops.
that
I
one.
know.
So-
All right. So
yeah,
not like
I'm glad you read the article.
yeah, not hugging men.
Yeah.
All right, good.
So they did that. They offered that, and they offered to buy everyone, just like literally the school, pizza for a huge pizza party on them. And then they said anyone who wanted to go to Vincenzo's afterwards will pay for a pizza party if there's a victory.
Mhm.
Very generous, and they've done it before.
Seems all right with me.
Sounds great. It's a donation. It's something that would cost them thousands of dollars because buses are not cheap.
They said they would put down a deposit of 10 grand.
Yeah, they said that if they wanted to deposit a good faith deposit, they would have just given the district $10,000 just
for all the costs.
Yeah. So
Oh my god.
I know. And the board under President Rohume said no.
Can we put can we not say President Rohume?
They elected her to be the president.
I know,
of the
but
board.
like just to put president before that
It's
is
the worst.
terrifying.
I know.
Yeah. Her clear wine drinking.
Yeah.
Oh, was she the one that was
She was
caught
the-
on camera drinking wine?
Yeah.
And-
not a big deal.
Yeah, and so she said it wasn't wine, it was water, and I'm just going to point out why it was bullshit. She opens the fridge, pulls out a wine bottle, pours, and she cups it. If you're watching online, you could see she's cupping the glass so you can't see what's in it. But you saw her do it on the Zoom. But here's why it's bullshit. Her fridge had a water dispenser.
Oh, you're like Alex Jones right now.
No,
I think he just kind of put two and two together.
It's just obvious.
Common sense.
I'm sorry, her bullshit excuse that she puts water in wine bottles. You're like, okay, all right, maybe, but no, you walked right by your water dispenser in your fridge. So she was drinking during a school board meeting. So there's, no one except, I don't know, maybe her close confidants. They would know. Actually, everyone doubts it.
Yeah.
So that aside, so she's of that fame. She says no. Gets what's called consensus. Like she must have pulled the board. It's something that I would go through. Like if there was a question, are we all on the same page with this?
Yeah.
And the majority of the board shot it down. Now Ty Holmes wasn't there. I'm sure he would have been in favor of it. Danielle Cheswick posted that she was obviously in favor of the donation. And then, and Sean McAndrew also publicly said that he was very disappointed, and he came off great in the article. He basically said, I've never seen us turn away a donation like this before. I'm dumbfounded. But Ro, with her bullshit reasoning, says, no joke, says there were concerns about the nutritional value of pizza.
Have you ever eaten at a school cafeteria?
Every Friday is Pizza Friday.
Yeah.
That's what my son eats. Every cafeteria offers pizza.
I am worried that they would have pizza twice in 1 week, though.
Oh, well, so we have to.
But that seems like such a bullshit reason.
Oh, does it, Mark?
So what is the real reason? What do you think?
They don't like George Roskus. He's the district routinely sued.
Wait, this is personal. So we're gonna make sure that the kids don't get something nice because it's personal.
Yeah, and so George, who he does some funny shit. He calls himself the Skip sometimes.
Okay.
And Dr. Kirian got so annoyed with him that she wrote to him that you were no longer allowed to call yourself the Skip.
Why does he call himself the Skip?
I have just to annoy people.
At board meetings? Like, does he go?
No, just in general. He tells everyone he was coaching. Tell kids, call me Skip, whatever, all that stuff. He's just doing it to troll people and be amusing. And it
Yeah, but we used to, when I was in high school, we had coaches that we would call nicknames.
Yeah. That's that with him. Well, the district would go after it, has gone after him so many times. He has sued them or filed grievances. I think a total of 23 times. And
what?
And he's won all 23. They just keep messing with this dude, and he just keeps winning. He's in terms of the thousands of dollars he's made. He once a year there's a settlement he wins against the district because they violated his civil rights or due process rights. He's a guy who knows his rights. So
got to get him on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Skip. Let's get Skip.
I bet you.
I want to talk to him. I want to refer to him as Skip.
I'm going to bet you that the terms of some of his settlements would preclude that.
Well, let's talk about the ones that don't.
He really is a great guy, great character, very generous. And so they don't like him. And so that's why it's personal. They don't like him. He embarrasses them routinely. There was an article in the paper about one of the settlements, and it mentioned that Dr. Kirian said he's not allowed to call himself the Skip anymore. And he spoke in the article entirely in the third person and just said the Skip was very happy with the outcome. Skippity doo dah. And his final quote was "Skipping ain't easy." Like just supreme troll.
I want to be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that he realizes how ridiculous they are.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. So I'm in principle, like we're all in principle aggravated.
Yeah.
Think about the kids who are now not going to go to that game because they were going to, like the tickets would be paid for, the bus would be paid for. So now,
and it's not every year that the team goes there.
No, that's the thing. It's a very special occasion. And last time it happened, it was,
I don't know if you know anything about West, but
they're not knights. I know that. They're invaders. So
yeah. Wait, speaking of which, all joking aside, so my kids, my daughter goes to Scranton. My son was there last year, played basketball. The Scranton Knights basketball team is 1-7 in the league this year. They just won districts.
Yeah.
How's that happen?
It just so happened to be the league and the district are different. And they were 1-7 in the league, and they just won districts.
Oh, you know what? I don't want to talk about sports. I want to talk about corruption.
How wild is that?
I want to talk about corruption.
That is.
Let's talk about corruption within the school district, though. Let's forget these happy.
No. I'm glad that they won, and we had them on last year.
No, it's okay.
Great kids.
They're good kids.
Yeah, they're really great kids. And they deserved a fucking pizza party. So,
Right.
you were saying,
yes. So basically, you think about all these kids who want to maybe cheer their friends on. You know.
Kids who this is a big opportunity. Like some kids can't afford it.
Remember how big it was for Scranton to go to the playoffs?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And so the board just said, nah. They were ready to drop 10 grand as a good faith deposit. And the board just said no.
Why? Can I ask a terrible question?
Of course.
So I obviously, no matter if you ran for Grand Emperor of the World, I'd probably vote for you.
I appreciate that.
So when you ran, there was like this team of school board directors running, or people who wanted it. So and I was like, okay, this is positive change coming forward. And I know that, like, I know you got screwed in the voting, because it's almost like Fetterman. It's like if there was no mail-ins, nobody would have voted for him on election day after they saw his debate performance, right? And you know, Katie did what she did to Mayor Connors, like 2 days before the election, but all the mail-ins came in for her.
And also took healthcare away from every employee as a punitive tactic.
I didn't know that.
So very quickly, and this is why
that's when she was board president.
Yeah, this is why what she did was like unconscionable. You would when you're on strike, your district can definitely take your healthcare away. But the thing is, you still have to work a contractual 180 days no matter what. So if you incurred a medical expense without insurance, the district would have to reimburse you anyway. So to take
it back was nothing. It didn't.
It was punitive.
They're obligated.
It was absolutely just meant to be.
It was just a tactic.
It was like, let's be assholes. Let's screw them. And that also, I think that fired the teachers up even more because, of course, the strike at the time. And they showed up en masse on election day. And I was getting the returns. It was fun. I was getting the turns. I'm like, I'm beating her all over the place. Then the mail-ins came in.
You beat her. I think you did beat her on election day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By a long shot. Crushed her. Yeah.
So these new members are supposed to come in and, like, you know, I hate, this is going to be fun to say, Ty Holmes, friend of the show. I love Holmes. Yeah. I love him. He's a great dude. Yeah, like, his heart's in the right place.
Great director.
His intentions are in the right place. What the fuck is going on? Like, why does it seem like it's getting worse?
Because there weren't enough seats up for grabs.
Yeah. So, the way that the board is structured right now is not great for two reasons. It's kind of like there were almost enough good guys. There was like basically 4 good guys, 4 bad guys, and Roe switched teams. She used to be with the Katie Gilmartin crew. And then as a power grab, she's like, I will support you guys if you make me president. So she went to Yeah. So, deals were made. She's the boss. But there's like a tentative save schools majority, but it's very actually tenuous is probably the better word. It's not solid. And earlier I was talking about how people get so dissuaded from being involved. There's 5 seats open and there's only 5 people running for them. And
right now?
Yeah, that's it.
And so the election in November?
No. The primary
in May.
And so,
and then they go to November, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same 5 people, so it doesn't matter.
Almost always. The only exception to that rule ever was me. I made it on the R side, but not the D side, and that's how I fought it out in November against Katie.
Yeah, but you won, and then you lost because of the mail-in.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, the people didn't have enough time to make a judgment on that.
Absolutely, because she did phenomenally on the mail-ins, and just awfully. On election day, and that was because of her behavior.
That was the reason. Like, one of the reasons why we started this was because it was Biden Street.
Yeah,
and then we were like, you didn't give him time to fuck up yet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, I still don't understand the mail-ins. I think they're stupid.
So let's go back to that though. So there's 5 seats up this cycle.
Do you want to run? Me and you?
Please, God, yes.
No. Who's up for election?
You have until Tuesday to just get 10 signatures. That's all you need.
This Tuesday?
Well, I can get that tonight.
I'm kind of busy this weekend.
Dude, you can get them.
I know I could get them.
You can get them. You can get them in one Facebook post
here.
Yeah.
I'll take them to work tomorrow and make everybody sign it.
Well, what do you think would happen if Mike and I ran for school board?
It would be glorious.
Why?
Well, first of all, you can document it like Hunter S. Thompson in the Fear and Loathing and on the campaign trail 70.
Who's running?
Okay. So Catherine Fox, who is not a great director.
Is she running again?
Yes, she is.
Okay, and her seat's up for grabs. Okay.
Yes.
Before you continue, can you give us a baseline of what not a great director means?
Oh, good. Okay. So each one kind of has, so I have a standard of how I expect, my elected officials to perform. We all do. And because I was on school board and because of my involvement there, I probably have a different or higher standard. I don't know. But, watching the meetings, like being able to have a level head, doing what's best for children. Like I don't know how some of them can think that cutting preschool was good for kids, but some of them think it was good for kids and will say, oh, I got rid of this because it'll save this other thing that's even more important. Bullshit. They didn't have to get rid of it. It was paid for fully by federal title funds. But a lot of these people don't have the knowledge to understand that, or they don't care. Well, actually, Fox and then, of course, Roe, like their families are in the preschool business.
What?
Yeah, Fox is on the board of.
I think you told us this before.
Yeah,
isn't that wild?
And actually, Roe's family's preschool,
of a private preschool,
got so big after the closure that she's opening a second location. But it has nothing to do with the fact that Scranton got rid of preschool.
Is that like when you say that it's not a Ponzi scheme because you can't legally have a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah,
is that like when you say that?
Yeah,
you're running a Ponzi scheme. No, I'm not.
And Roe hates my guts because I point this out at every opportunity that I get, and I don't care.
Well, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, your family benefited from your behavior financially. That is awful.
So now that. Okay, so a bad director. So have we established a baseline here?
Yeah, so a bad director is, I don't think whether or not you're a good person is actually relevant because
correct.
Good people.
Because Ty Holmes is awful.
Awfully awesome, Ty.
We love you.
Yeah.
So like being good is a perspective, and a lot of these people probably think they're good.
Yeah.
But their behavior is harmful, so it is not good. Like Roe doing what she did probably thought. Good. This is a good thing because we want to avoid entangling ourselves with Roscus. But that is obviously not correct. I don't think people wake up ever and think, hey, I'm going to do something evil or harmful to people, but their actions are that way anyway. So I guess to be a good director, you have to understand the consequences of your decision making. That's my more succinct answer to your question.
Well, there has to be consequences.
Yes. Yeah.
Because these people don't have consequences.
Well, no, what I mean is like they have to understand the effect of the vote that they make on anything. Like when they got out of recovery, which they celebrated and patted themselves on the back, they also voted to increase our taxes. I think it was like 5.8% for 5 straight years.
Yeah. Which, okay. So for people to understand that is 5% this year, then 5% on the total of the increase of year one, and then continues on the lump sum.
Which is utterly absurd. And I
It's compounding tax.
And I got in touch with a couple. I'm saying to these directors, I'm like, don't vote on this as a package deal. Split it out to amendments.
Yeah.
You can just make a point of order. You can request that they be voted on separately. Vote to accept this provision, that provision, and reject the tax provision. Nobody made a motion to do that.
It's almost like what I'm hearing you say is it's like the ripple effect. They're voting and making decisions based on the first ripple, but they're not looking at the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Yeah.
So preschool, it personally negatively impacted my family because my sons didn't get to go to preschool in the Scranton School District. I sent my son to YPALS, which is wonderful.
I went to YPALS.
Yeah.
It's at the YMCA.
Yeah, it's great. But Scranton's program was also the first one in the state. We were the oldest operating preschool program, and we have certified trained professionals. That's not required in private preschools. You have to be certified by the state, but you don't necessarily you're not going to have a degree or an educational background. So we lost that. And actually, it was Ty's wife, who's a teacher in the district and who used to teach preschool, talked about how there are kids who come to school now who are not potty trained. And because they didn't have preschool in the Scranton School District, a lot of them can't afford private preschools. Private preschools very expensive.
Yeah.
Especially Rose Daughters. And that's a fact. It's one of the most expensive ones.
What's the name of it?
Oh, no. I don't want to. Let's just I
don't think you can get sued, but
we can get sued.
It's called Expensive Kids.
Yeah. So the kids are coming in not potty trained. They're not being identified as special needs children. So that is awful for those kids and for everybody else in the learning environment, because now kindergarten is a petri dish of experimentation because you don't know anything about these kids. Whereas with preschool, where you have I'm not going to say that it's less consequential in terms of what you're learning, but obviously it's not going to be as advanced as kindergarten. You can find the kids who might have autism and their parents might not know it and might need extra services or have some sort of learning disability.
It's built for that learning.
So when in preschool in Scranton, they had 3 and 4 year old preschool, they could identify these kids very young and intervene very early. And now they've pushed that back, not 1 year, but 2, because they canceled 3 and 4 year old preschool. And now you got these kids in kindergarten who don't know how to spell their names or might not even know their last names. And it's incredibly common, but the district would have remediated that. So that's the long-term consequence that they ignored.
So does Roe have a political affiliation?
I mean, I'm sure she's a registered Democrat.
So I find it interesting that the ones who are most affected by that are the ones who don't have as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find it really interesting that the ones who have to suffer for that are the ones who are suffering already.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. The programs, they have a limited number of spots, and you have to give them according to income guidelines. So like the more like your family is struggling, the more likely you are to get a 3-year-old preschool spot because it's smaller. And then the more likely you would be to get a 4-year-old preschool spot. But we got rid of it all. And again, fully paid for by federal Title I.
There's a certain level of just cruel to doing that. Yeah, I mean, your family, it's like if I had, owning the business I own, it's like if I had the ability, if I was an elected politician. Okay, let's put it this way. It took me a second to flesh it out. Let's say hypothetically I'm the mayor of Scranton and I take away the certificate of occupancy for every other salon in Scranton. So now mine is the only one left. I mean, it's akin to that.
That's pretty accurate.
I mean, it's because it's evil.
Because what's going to happen is Micah, as fictional mayor of Scranton, his business is going to go up.
Yeah,
it's just cruel.
Well, and not only that,
and meanwhile, all those other salons who are like mom and pop ones are like, now what do we do?
And much like my salon is expensive.
I've heard from ladies.
Yeah, so like Micah would open up rich adults as opposed to rich kids.
Yeah.
See, but here's the other thing that a lot of people don't think of this, especially if you don't have young kids, but getting rid of those was also a tax increase because it was already paid for and it was built into the system. And so now I wouldn't have had to pay for my son to go to preschool.
But now you do.
But now I do. So how many hundreds or thousands of dollars it's thousands over the course of a year are families paying that they didn't have to pay before? That's why kids are coming in with all these problems now because their families can't afford a private preschool. And Head Start isn't a preschool. Head Start is more of more like childcare. So and that's the other thing. A lot of parents are sending their kids to a childcare facility as opposed to a preschool. So they operate on different levels. It's really awful that these directors let this happen. And that's just one of many examples of their failures. There's just a cadre of awful directors.
So you listened to George, and he brought up some points about solicitors.
Yeah.
Oh, do you share that sentiment, or do you think?
Which part of his sentiment?
Well, his argument is that like the board does not have to listen to solicitors. They can make decisions for themselves, and a lot of the times it seems like the solicitors are compromised themselves financially. Yeah. So almost like, and I think Rose gotten kicked in the ass a couple of times on this, and not to like belabor her.
Oh, go for it.
It's the solicitors. It's tantamount to shutting down preschool and benefiting financially from. So they make recommendations that might benefit their firm or them as lawyers.
I don't know too much about this current firm, but the previous solicitor, John Audi, was very much.
Ironically, he's now the solicitor up at Tunkhannock Area High School where George is fighting.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You didn't hear that part, did you?
I didn't. I had most of it, and I did. I switched from the computer.
That must have been the exact moment where I was like, Mike, you remember that name?
Oh man.
Yeah. He's the solicitor now up at Tunkhannock.
So
ambulance chaser.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a couple of examples because he was my solicitor when I was on the board. I didn't pick him. But like we had labor counsel that was separate from him. So a law firm that would actually negotiate with unions to handle contracts. Years before the strike, we were very close to finishing, and and I lost the election. And Fox, Cruz, Rowe, they all came in, and with Katie in charge, they fired the labor firm just as we were about to settle a contract and put Audi in charge. And what do you think Audi did? Threw the contract out and started from scratch. He charged hourly. Like 155, I forget, some outrageous dollar amount.
Most lawyers are like $300-$400 an hour.
Yeah, and so maybe
it's like a law firm. So like I don't know, maybe there might be a deal because it's public.
I forget exactly what it was.
It's not $12.50.
Whatever he paid, whatever he was being paid was absurd. But he created like hundreds of hours of work by throwing that contract out, and that led to the eventual strike like 2 years later. Because they like, we're starting from scratch, and he would get nowhere, negotiate, get paid, write suggestions and proposals, get paid. They're awful. So it extends everything. I'll tell you why I wasn't a fan of him. The first time I met him, he had monogrammed every time I saw him. But the first time I met him, I noticed that he has his initials monogrammed on his sleeve and his collar.
Oh, no. And the sleeve I can do. The collar, absolutely not.
And I thought, like, this is just screaming unnecessary decadence.
Yeah.
And I grew up in West Side. I didn't come from money. Like, no, sorry. No monogram collar or sleeve for that matter.
You're not Richie Rich.
I mean, if you're at some sort of super formal singular event.
Yeah, but even then.
Even
you're still a douche.
Yeah. And so to the Juha's point about you don't need to listen to your solicitors. This is true. However, you do open yourself to legal liability under state law if you don't. So that kind of sucks, because there were a couple of times where I would be given advice that I knew was stupid and hated. But if I chose not to follow it, if somebody wanted to come at me, I now lose. School board members are
firewall of the lawyer.
Yeah, not just a firewall of the lawyer. School board members can't be held personally liable for anything. Because obviously, like, people would be personally sued all the time, and there would be nobody in public service. Mm-hmm. So the district assumes your liability. You can only lose that if you don't follow your solicitor's advice.
That sounds like a trap.
Well, and I noticed very quickly it was. There was
and that trap is that you can't make decisions as a school board member because of the interests of the solicitor.
Yeah, and there was a particular employee.
Am I reading that right?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. There was a particular.
The solicitor's really in charge.
Yeah, and
who's not elected.
No, the board picks solicitors that they like.
I hear you, but they're not elected.
Agreed. They do have a lot of power in that regard. You have to. The board has to vote to find an honest one. The current. Yeah, I know.
Keep going.
Like, if I were on the board, there are lawyers that I would choose. They also, you know what they really should do, and I suggested this when I was on. Hire an in-house full-time solicitor, as in make them your employee. Don't do this contractual hundreds of dollars an hour bullshit.
Your only job is our school
you
district.
Create a law department, and instead of spending 1.3 million a year on a solicitor, hire somebody in-house for $500,000. They're salaried at $500,000, and that's that. So
wait, how much do we pay the solicitor every year?
Audi was close to the 7-figure mark. He was pretty egregious.
7 figures.
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep in mind,
rewrite contracts.
Listen, if you're a high-priced lawyer, you're $500 an hour. Then you got paralegals under you, the whole 9 yards, and that's an hour.
Yeah.
So let's say you're doing 40 hours a week. Right there, you're looking at $20,000.
Yeah, and he wouldn't do 40 hours a week, but I remember seeing some of his bills. Like he'd be billing by the 5-minute mark, like crazy shit.
I talked to a local elected official who said that they opened an email the other day. They got like a new solicitor
and charged for opening.
It was like $16.50.
Yeah,
and they were like, "What? Like, are you going to be really like that?" It took you a minute and a half to read that.
Yeah, and that's and that sends signals. That's
paid for by taxpayers.
Yes. So, I get what George was saying about the solicitors, but you have to listen to them or legal liability. There was a high level employee who was awful at her job. Thank God she's since gone for other reasons. But
not all teachers are good.
No, it wasn't a teacher. It was a director.
Not all directors are good.
Of a major department, and I would see her emails, and they were cover your ass emails to the solicitor, and he would then give her like this advice and be like, shit, I was going to go after her about this complete and utter mistake that she made that is causing us problems. And I was going to hold her accountable, but now I can't because the solicitor's involved. And she was smart.
She knew the game.
Yeah, she knew the game. Yeah, the other thing that having an in-house solicitor would be good for is the district gets sued all the time for IEP violations. Having someone who's a lawyer, who's a special, and I think I told you guys last time I was on.
You said they don't.
$6 million a year, I think it is. At least it was in settling lawsuits because they're sued all the time for violating special.
But they've never been found not guilty. They always settle. They always settle.
So if you had an in-house lawyer, you could fight when you think it's unjust, and now it's no longer more or less expensive because
it's just on salary.
It's on salary. So I came up with all these ideas. Nobody ever listened.
But they seem like practical ideas. Like why?
Because when you find a way, and this is what I've learned in business and government's no different. When you find a way to spend money in a way in which people don't have a choice, then you can easily fleece money through the system. Every time money exchanges hands in any kind of business or governmental deal, somebody's getting paid every step along the way.
I think
it's like a VAT tax.
Yeah,
I think
funny how that works.
I think the point of what George was saying is like we've allowed this to happen by not paying attention to it.
That I agree. And I think this is really funny because he would probably hate what I'm about to say, but that's like a Marxist analysis of the situation. Not Marxist.
Not paying attention.
No. Like I'm thinking of like literary Marxism where you think about how like the upper class like shits on the lower class. They've created a situation where everything is so freaking complicated that now you have like a class of people who know everything, and it's going to be like solicitors, and everyone else is boxed out.
You mean they kind
suffer
of like
as a result.
The haves versus the have-nots?
Yeah, and it's a form of analysis, not like not communism. It's a form of analysis. So if you look at it, no, I know.
I'm not saying you're a communist. I think what you're saying is, if I'm understanding you,
I'm talking through the lens of classism.
I understand that.
But yeah, so what he's identified is how many years
he's identified Marxism.
Well, he's used an he would hate I'm sure the analytical term, but he's used that as an analytical tool, whether he knows it or not. It's a style. And also I taught this stuff, like for years as an English teacher. Like
taught Marxism? I'm kidding. Oh.
In AP, it's about analyzing class in books, not teaching communism.
You're talking like Anna Karenina and stuff like that.
You could use it like that. You can use it in anything. Like 1984 is a good example of that. You can use it on.
It's a totally good example.
I wonder if Audi is making any political campaign donations.
Oh, their firms always do. So I'll actually tell you right off the bat.
So they might be buying votes in order to get this high price work.
First of all, yes, that
we should probably look into that.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah, maybe he'll come on. John, you want to come on this?
All that stuff happens.
Want to explain yourself?
So what they do is they set up a PAC or there are also
and you don't have to know who's in charge of who's in the PAC.
Yeah, there's different kinds of PACs, but yes, you can easily hide donations.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of this shit that has gone on and is going on over the years, just because everybody with money does it. They create these shadow packs. They're like, hey, you give $5,000, you give $5,000, you give $5,000. We're going to get our preferred people in. And that's actually how a lot of these directors that I can't stand got in, because the Scranton pack, which thankfully has since dissolved, spent something like $25,000-$30,000 to make sure that Roe and Katie and their company got in.
So who else is up for re-election?
So it's okay. So Catherine Fox, she's running again. Sarah Cruz, she's running again. Carol Cleary, she's running again.
She's not on there right now, is she?
She got appointed.
Okay.
And she's a former high school guidance counselor. I think she's one of the good ones. But she's only been there for a little, so I don't have a judgment. But I don't have anything bad to say about her, so that's rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
Roe Hume is running again. I had heard she wasn't, and then she likes the taste of the power of the presidency.
I'm now drunk with power.
I used to be drunk. I used to be drunk with wine. Now I'm drunk with power. I was
drunk on Zoom. Now I'm drunk on power.
That is awesome. That is the greatest tagline ever.
I'm
gonna use that.
Drunk with power.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna absolutely use that when I create like anti-Roe memes to share during the election.
Yeah,
is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna create anti? Well, now you just gave it away. Now they know it's you. Or you're like, I'll stand in the front lines. I don't give a shit if you know it's me.
Yeah,
Are you that upset? Like, are you that like? So you're the type of person that like doesn't like to, unless it's like egregious. You really don't like to put yourself on the firing line, or do you always put yourself on the firing line?
So I don't like it. I don't like to be on the firing line, but I can't help myself. That's probably just can't help it. I just have.
Is your wife like, oh, Tom, no, or is she like, no?
Originally, yes. Over the years, she's like come to share my sense of aggravation at everything.
Yeah. See, my wife's the polar opposite. My wife, like, I get all up in arms about everything. Lauren's just like,
calm down.
No, my wife's ready to join in now. She's like,
So
we should sign her up for Wine of the Month.
I was talking to her about that. We should. I already do that.
Okay.
You have growler. You have a cidery.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You don't need wine. You have a cidery.
I also love
Growler
wine.
of the Month Club.
I get wine sent to the house. On the regular.
So why is it that the people don't know? Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but the majority of your tax dollars goes to the school district.
Yeah.
Property taxes in Scranton. Absolutely. And actually in any district.
So when you're getting taxes taken out of your paycheck or whatever, most of it's going to the school district. And as it's going to the school district, they're increasing taxes, which means they're collecting more, which means they have more revenue. So if they have more revenue, why is it getting worse?
This is another reason I get frustrated.
Throwing money at it. It should be. We haven't fucking figured this out yet.
So there's a couple of interesting things that are related to what you just said. First, when I was on the board in 2019, the budget was 169 million. This year it was 222 million, and that is based on revenue.
What?
Yeah, you see how much more. So and that is actually.
How did it go up that high?
I'm going to say thanks to Senator Flynn. He got.
Oh, the funding, the fair funding.
Lots of fair funding. And he got lots of it on the regular.
Yeah, but this should fix fucking everything.
It should, but it hasn't. And there are a multitude of reasons for that. Some of them are legitimate, like they gave the teachers a contract, they got raises that they deserved, because they hadn't had them in 5 years. But
that's an expected cost.
It is, which they should have budgeted for, but just didn't as a gimmick for years. But that's a whole other story.
Oh my God.
But they've gotten this increase in funding. They've increased the taxes, but they've grown their administrative state, I guess you would call it, immensely. The
bureaucrats.
Yeah.
The deep state.
Lots of new 6-figure salaries. They hired a gentleman as an HR director who had literally no HR background. I think he makes like maybe 125 grand.
Dan, cut to me. I could do the HR.
Yeah.
I could do it for 100.
No background whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right?
You can use that money towards a bus trip to a playoff game with pizza.
Basketball, not wrestling.
But I said playoff just to make sure I didn't put my foot in my mouth.
It's a district championship.
So I will do HR.
For 100?
I'd probably be good at it.
I'll do it for 87.
Well, it's funny you say that because he had no background. They had to create an assistant
for him for more money.
No way.
At 100 grand.
No, wait.
An assistant's making. I'll do the assistant job.
Yeah, you and I could. We don't even need titles. Micah and I will just share the responsibility depending on what day. He could be the head, I could be the assistant, or one day you could be the I'll be the assistant.
And she has HR experience. So like,
why doesn't she have the job?
Well, I mean,
wait. Who is the guy and who is he connected to?
What I would say is the superintendent has made sure that her people are getting taken care of.
I mean, this is so insane, Tom.
And the board acquiesces to this stuff. And I actually, you know what? I think maybe Danielle and Ty might have been the only people to vote against that gentleman's appointment, if I recall correctly. Danielle specifically questioned it.
What's the resume for that? What does that look like?
He was just a district principal.
We're going to put you in charge of HR with no experience.
Yeah, and HR is
it's a bear.
It's a nightmare
for a I think
for a school district in 2023.
It also might be after Toby Hanna. It might be the largest employer in Northeast PA, like the Scranton School District, because you have hundreds of teachers, hundreds of maintenance employees,
multiple
bus
schools.
Drivers. You got tons of cafeteria workers, aides, paraprofessional.
Not a lot of preschool.
No, they don't have a lot of preschool teachers.
Yeah.
Zero.
Oh.
Former preschool teachers, they have quite a few.
Okay, so people think I've lost my mind, right? Because I started asking questions, God forbid. And, my whole thing was to try to explain it to the national level or the global level. I'm just look locally. This shit happens all the time.
Local elections have far more impact on your life than national elections.
Well, I'm talking specifically about the fuckery. If you want to see the fuckery, just open the door and walk outside.
Well, yeah, and the media doesn't do a good job of looking at this
local
stuff.
Media.
Yeah.
Well, no.
And the other thing is there's shit that goes on. There's so many local school districts, but the Times doesn't have the manpower to investigate every little thing that happens. Some of the stuff you want to give your friend a job? I remember many years ago, they did a deep dive into Dunmore, and I forget, but 40, it was some sort of absurd percentage, 40% of the staff was related to a board member. It was, I forget, the article was years ago in the Scranton Times, and it was an absurd amount of family members had jobs. But nobody looks at this stuff.
That's
anymore.
called nepotism.
Yeah. And actually that was, that was the word that went around.
I see what you did there.
You're welcome.
And I don't know if the number is 40% or 20%,
but it's obscene.
Whatever it is, it's that should make us wonder.
See, because I want the most qualified people to do the job. I don't care if 40% of them are qualified and just so happen to be related to people from Dunmore, I'm fine with that.
Sure.
I am A-okay with that. But if it's we're going to give you a job because, we know you.
Yeah. And I would say that's definitely.
Or you help me cut my lawn.
What's funny is that's not the case anymore with teaching because nobody wants to be a teacher anymore.
Well, it's a thankless job. You're a great example.
Can I ask you, are you happier?
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, is it that
he
thankless?
Makes cider for a living.
Yeah.
Is it that brutal?
It's
do you see, so I talked to my mom, right? And my mom was a teacher for 25 years, right?
Of course.
And I asked her about because she can in hindsight go back and be like, yeah, there was a decline. You could see shit getting weird.
I was never bothered by the kids.
She loved her kids.
I think, and I might have written 3 detentions in a 17-year career. I never had a problem. And I was just good at handling because, if a kid's going to be an asshole, something happened that I don't know about
in their life. Yeah.
And so I can work with that.
Yeah.
But that's called just being a good understanding teacher. It was never that. It was never the material. Sometimes it was parents, but really even then, not too bad. It really is just the people in charge.
It's always the board or the administration.
Yeah. Yep.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the board is supposed to be the ones who kind of watchdog.
Yeah, that stopped. And for a lot of places, but definitely in Scranton, this board kind of just, and as soon as Katie became president, right after I got off the board, there was her with experience and 8 new people.
Oh, so she
rewrote all the policies. And they
don't know any better. None of them know any better.
I've heard some of them say oh, well, it's the policy. I'm thinking to myself, you make the policy. And actually, once again, kudos to Danielle. She at one meeting said, I'm sorry, state law supersedes policy. That's absolutely true. And one of my fellow directors, Greg Popel, told me that. And I'm like, that's a good point. And he's like, yeah, all you need are 5 votes. Policy is whatever the hell you want it to be. 5 votes. That's it. So for the current board to be hamstrung by the past board is anti-democratic as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. But the current board is a combination of not willing to do anything about it and maybe not aware enough about what they could do about it. Like I just said about that amendment on the taxes, they could have just said, let's vote on these 3 items with the recovery plan separately, and nobody made a motion to do that. All you need is a second.
So who's advising them? Who's advising and consenting them to do that?
So I would say,
do you see what I mean? Where it's like,
I gotcha. So number one, I would say the Katie crew, which would be like Roe, Sarah, Fox, they were taught by Katie how to be a director. The rest of them learned most, like I would say, from administration.
Do you think taught or like osmosis?
A combo of taught and osmosis. But the rest of them would have learned from the recovery officer who had her own agenda, and the superintendent. And administration actually is probably a better word, because like I remember being on the board listening to Dr. Kirian speak, and she would purposely use jargon that I knew that none of my, like only one of my fellow directors was in education. Nobody but me and her knew what was being said. And I'm like, and everyone had to vote on it. And that's good. I was there. I was an educator. I can give you the jargon. I know the word, like the language, but a lot of people don't know the language. People who watch from home don't know the language. And that's another reason people don't want to run.
Well, that's why they speak in legalese, so they confuse you.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember like just watching these like ridiculous reports, and it was like obfuscation by like hyper intellectualism, I guess. Like you're obfuscating and blocking like people from understanding things because you're making it so intellectually out of reach.
Oh, okay.
And that's
if ever there was a term that described that term.
I don't get to use English teacher words.
No, I'm happy you
I
did.
love it.
I'm happy you did.
So, and it's a tactic. And you know, that's the thing. Like I had to learn, and this is, you asked me my opinion about George. So I had to learn how to convince 11th and 12th graders that Shakespeare was valuable. And I got really good at that. And I think he would do better if he studied rhetoric. And it's not a criticism. That's like, it's a constructive criticism, because he makes so many good points, but no one's going to do what he thinks they should, which is to learn more.
They don't have time.
Because they don't have time. The way to convince people to be involved, and I'm still working on it too, it is to let them know that they have the power, even if they don't understand it. That's why I said earlier, like, follow your instincts. You know, if you think something is going on that's wrong, it's worth speaking up, even if you don't know.
Yeah, where there's smoke.
Yes.
You can smell it. You might not be able to see.
And there's nothing
fire.
wrong with saying, I don't know all the details, but something doesn't feel right about this.
And that's,
let's table it.
I don't understand.
So glad you said that, because I think people are afraid of admitting they don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I remember sitting there like, there's no way in hell that these board members next to me understood this presentation about, like, you know, special ed jargon. They weren't even, like, they're not trained. You need to take specialized classes to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
And they don't know that, and they're going to vote on it. But why didn't they speak up and ask questions? It's either they didn't care, or they didn't want to seem like they didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a concern? That's an ego thing. So they're very concerned that, like, in a public meeting, they're going to ask a stupid question, like South Park. There's no such thing as stupid people, just stupid questions.
Yeah, actually, exactly like that.
Right.
Because if you believe that the public has faith,
I got
in
that
you,
backwards. It's stupid questions.
I got you.
Stupid people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the way the quote goes.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
So if you're an individual who's been elected, you definitely have to believe that people have faith in you. And so you want to project that. And, you know, like Roe doesn't know what the word equity means. And it bothers the shit out of me.
Wait, why do you say that?
She talks about how it's an equity issue, like all the time, every meeting. If you see me typing in all caps on Facebook during a meeting, she used the word equity, and like,
equity is not what she thinks it is.
No. And you think like, no one is telling her other than me in all caps on Facebook, but nobody wants to engage her, and she doesn't want to, and I'm sure she would never want to admit that she just doesn't know. So you get that kind of an attitude like, oh yeah, I definitely know everything that Dr. Kirian just said about special ed. You know, no, you didn't, but okay, you're going to vote on it. And like Robert's rules, like I said, the book is like 3 inches thick. None of them knows it all. The policies, especially Katie spent years enacting policies. Well, guess what? Guess who's quoting policy and challenging the other directors on policy? Her, because she wrote it. You know, so she uses that as a cudgel to like beat these people into doing what maybe she thinks is correct, but they don't know enough about how to fight. And simply saying what you just said.
Mhm.
Let's table this so we can understand it. You know, none of them will do that.
I don't think that that's a bad idea.
No, not at all.
No.
And here's the other.
As a matter of fact, it's pragmatic, Micah.
Well, honestly, like I'd say to people sometimes, you know, because I can be a hothead. You know, I know that about myself.
Oh,
Little bit.
Dan wants more. Keep
It's
telling
good cider, isn't it?
Dan or Micah. Keep telling us about your faults while I get Dan more cider.
Yeah. No, but like I like to say, like some people hate to be wrong. I actually love being wrong
Because that's what then you learn.
because then I can learn and grow.
Yep.
And if you're never wrong, you never grow. It's like if I were to ask you, like, oh no, I'm good, buddy.
Oh.
You know, I don't want to get
More for me.
I don't want to get too turned up. Like,
Good thing this isn't live, or else the cops would be following us home.
right? You know, you ask somebody, like, you know, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. If they're like, I'm a 10.
I'm at 11.
Yeah. Well, then you have no room to grow. That you're
12.
you're useless to me then. You know?
I think the other thing too is like, so like if I'm sorry I did so many likes there. If I did run for school board, I'd be the guy going, I don't understand. Like, I'm not voting on anything until I understand.
That could be the entire campaign we could run on.
Yeah, that's my slogan. I
We
don't understand.
And
we
neither
don't know
do
what
they.
we
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But we will get the answer.
Yeah. And here's the other thing.
Write that down.
A
That's
second
a good
ago, I said they were
It's recorded, Micah.
they were learning from others. So you have an inherent trust in it, and you know the administrators who are telling you things. And I'm not calling them liars, but
I think they genuinely don't know.
well. The administrators are going to have their own agenda and
Sure.
their own people and you know, and if someone says this is the best person for the job and you don't understand the job as a director, you're going to trust the person who's in administration to tell you, and then you're going to follow that recommendation. And through that, the administrators have kind of built their own little world, because the board has just acquiesced to whatever they want. And like, I would never have gone for an HR assistant job at 6 figures, especially because that job has never needed to exist. And the Scranton School District is smaller than it was in the past, not larger. So why did that have to happen? Well, I explained the reasons why, but none of them fought it. And
Like, that's why we elected them, to fight stupid shit like that.
yeah,
Or at least say, could we have a moment to understand this?
yeah. And you see Sean McAndrew routinely asking questions.
He's crushing it.
He's doing a really good job. He was the only one to vote against the recovery plan exit because of the taxes. He said, I'm not,
Yeah.
I said, absolutely not. And you know, he went public and said, I'm obviously in favor of donations. I don't know why the board would not do this. You know, so he always explains himself publicly, which I also think is a very important thing for a director. Like after every meeting, I would explain my votes. Danielle is pretty good at that. Danielle Chesak puts her stuff out. Sean will do it if there's a controversial issue. So Danielle, Sean, and Ty are doing a great job. You know, it's just that's few and far between. But they also don't have an educational background, so
Right.
they also aren't going to know. You know, and it sucks. Carol Cleary, who's there, has an educational background, so she is helpful in that regard. And like I said, she's done a good job so far that I can tell. So, you know, she's running. She might be worth, you know, support. But
So who else is running? It's Roe.
yeah. So
It's-
do you want to? So Roe is running.
yeah.
I'm obviously going to have yard sign in my yard for her.
Could you put a bottle of wine next to it?
I'll just put I'll put a ton of empty growlers like all over.
Why don't we get a bunch of her signs and put like the Ghostbusters like
Yeah.
right through it?
Say no to Roe. Roe's got to go. I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this stuff.
Okay. I don't understand is my slogan. I'm going to go with that.
I really
I
like,
don't understand.
but I also like, but neither do they.
I'll do
Yeah,
that too.
I like that. I like
vote
that.
for me because I don't understand and I know they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Roe, Catherine Fox, Sarah Cruz, Tariani's not going to run. But a woman named Maria Merkel, who is the head of the statewide PTA and lives in Scranton, she's going to run. She's excellent, very involved parent. And then Carol Cleary, who I mentioned as well. Those are the only 5 people who've put their names in. So all 5 of them will win if nobody else runs. And it's 5. So you're going to keep the clown car, which really sucks. It's 10 signatures. Just do it, Mark.
Wait. So to run in the primary,
10 signatures.
Well, I mean,
we just run in
obviously
the general.
You can't.
Why not?
You have to win a primary to get to a general.
that's how it works. Unless you run as an independent.
Yeah,
You could do that.
I would run it as an independent.
Please do.
Yeah.
Are we really
Are
considering?
you texting your wife for permission?
No, I'm just getting texts from my family.
Don't run. I don't know. Like, what's the obligation?
We'll
like, what is it?
It's funny.
Because my slogan is I don't understand.
Yeah. So two things. When I was on the board, I mean, obviously I take everything seriously, but it was like a 10 to 15 hour a week commitment for what I was doing, because I would answer every email, even if it was from a crazy person. I would invest.
Thanks for answering my email, by the way.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
And I'd be up until 3 a.m. doing this because parents would, and also then I got a reputation for being responsive, which means more people would reach out because they knew that I would respond. So that phone calls, I was always on with parents, teachers, maintenance people, anyone who had an issue. If something was, I was on the operations committee, like buildings and grounds. So if there was an issue at a building, I was getting a call. I was also personnel. So if there was an HR issue, I was getting a call. I didn't mind it, and I'm not complaining, but if you want to do it right or like fully, it's a lot. So a lot of people have asked me to run because I've done it in the past, and because so few people are running, and so many of them are so incompetent that I would have a decent shot, especially because I came so close last time. And it's tempting, but I just, with my life and family situation, I can't. And I've thought about it. I can't. But a buddy of mine, in attempting to pressure me, said, you know what you need to do? Show up only at meetings, vote the right way, and then leave and forget about it. And then do the same thing, next month.
I don't think that's in your character though.
No. I'm like, that sounds great, but no. But that's actually the minimum obligation you have is to just show up and vote.
That's it. You have no obligation. So
you have no obligation.
So in other words,
anything else.
So if I was a school board member, what access would I have to the schools?
This is funny. Katie passed a policy that said you have to ask permission to go in them.
Well, who gives me that permission?
I think it's the superintendent, but that's such shit. She'll never say no, but you shouldn't. If you're a director, you shouldn't have to ask to go into the thing you direct. Wouldn't it be nice to have like a surprise inspection? Yeah, like, hey, I'm going to show up and I want to tour this building.
Yeah,
and the principal might be busy. Like, fine, I'll wait a half hour or whatever. You take care of this discipline issue. All right, I want to tour the building. I want to talk to some teachers, get their feel. Like Sean McAndrew scheduled these, but he would do that. He went to every single building, made sure to talk to maintenance, teachers, and administration, and tried to do it separately to get their opinions on what needs to be done. That's good, but when you're letting them know you're coming. And the super,
they can get on their best behavior.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is but yeah.
It's not indicative of reality.
Yeah. So what you have access to now, if I would never follow, if I was on the board right now, I would not follow that policy, and I would love to see them say, sorry, you can't come in. I'm like, actually, according to state law, I can, which supersedes this bullshit policy that nobody should really be following.
And violate.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you have access to lots of stuff. Personnel files. So, if somebody did something ridiculous and it was, quashed or something, you would see whatever correspondence, you could see it. You have to worry about legality of disclosure. You can't take it and go to the Scranton Times and say, here's, this personal problem that somebody had, but you can look at it and it'll help you inform your decision making. You, normally things that are like right to know, you can just get instantaneously. The district the right to know officer is Bert Gentilesson. He's actually pretty quick because they could be stonewalling you and asking for 30-day extensions like some districts will do. But he's pretty quick, but you get whatever you want instantly. You can talk directly to any head of anything. There's also a stupid policy that you got to ask permission or go through the head of the committee for that thing. But that's also not true. Like, that's also not relevant.
I've met Katie a couple of times. I've had some interactions with her. I didn't see her as a bad person. I didn't see her as a monster or anything like that. But she's kind of like behaving like Dolores Umbridge.
Oh my God, that's my nickname for her.
Is it really?
It is. I call her that on my threads a lot.
Oh, you publicly say?
Yeah. But not running. And actually, if I did run, I don't think I would stop talking like this. It'll be like Bulworth.
Well, what it's almost like what is needed is for somebody to just speak like this.
Yeah.
I think the people are looking for truth and hope.
Yeah.
And they're not getting it from anybody.
Yeah. And do I think Katie's a bad person? No. But again, I don't think being a good person is the qualifier. Being a capable person is. So I remember
you could be a real piece of shit and do a good thing.
Oh God.
For a long time there.
He has a thought.
There was a meeting. Oh my God. There was this meeting. It was after a rally for fair funding. And she, it was a policy committee meeting, and we had a discussion about changing a policy. And she didn't really change much. It was mostly like slight wording things, but we had a discussion about whether or the was the more appropriate word in the policy. That's Katie. Katie was the head of the policy committee.
Is this a Ken Starr investigation? What is this?
I'm like, and Greg Popel, who was the vice president, was presiding over the meeting and was just like, he leans back. He's just like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, it was, and I'm like, this is great. I'm like, oh no, Katie, I'm an English teacher. I love this. And I'm like, no, it was a complete waste of time. But that's the kind of shit and do you think the public is going to really pay attention? Because they do committee meetings before regular meetings, right? So if you have, an hour long or 2 hour long committee meeting before your regular meeting, where that's the kind of shit that's going on, do you think the public is going to pay attention? Nope. And that's another reason why there's such a lack of involvement, because they'll have meetings that'll go till midnight sometimes, and no responsible citizen, even if you're responsible, can block out 6 hours on a Monday night. I've got kids. Like, I will sit there and do my rage typing because my wife loves me and will watch the kids. And then I will help her put them to bed. And then I will run back downstairs. And when they're asleep, I will watch what I missed and rage type some more. But that's because I'm interested in this stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you're interested in it, are you going to spend 6 hours on a Monday night staring at this, at meeting after meeting about?
I can't even imagine what my ass would feel like at the end of that 6 hours sitting in a chair.
Yeah, and I had solutions for fixing it. Like the NEIU, they do their work sessions the same night that they do their voting sessions, like the regular meetings. Yeah. They start with the work session. Work sessions are all about discussing stuff, and then the regular meetings for voting on it. Do them concurrently, or consecutively. Excuse me. Whereas this board does a work session and waits a week. So that means the amount of time
you forgot everything, or you've been manipulated,
or you get to say the same shit twice, 6 hours each time. Like, it's so dumb. They could do things so much better, but they don't have it. It really sucks.
I think if I ran, they'd censure me or whatever.
No, they.
I don't think I could.
Like, you don't think you're capable?
I don't have the patience anymore. That's
I don't think I
problem.
could, because I've dipped my toe into these waters. I was appointed to the parking authority, and with the sole intention of find all the bad stuff, get it out of here. So here's what happened.
I was on the parking authority. That's why.
You guys are Eskimo brothers.
Yeah. Political Eskimo brothers. So basically, long story short, I found out where the corruption was. I did deep dives. I was in the archives of Time Shamrock, looking for old articles and information, talking to reporters, investigators, the FBI, finding out what happened with the parking authority. Figured it out. Told who needed to know.
Are you talking about the contracts to build the?
Found out.
Oh, you know about that?
Because I found it too.
Yeah,
it happened before me.
Yeah, found out what I needed to know. Told the people that needed to know, and I said, "Listen, there's me and another guy that are we're good to go. There's two other guys that are there. One seat is empty. Appoint somebody who will side with us, and we will just quietly vote out the problem children that are still a part of this, rather than go to the paper and cause craziness." It was time to appoint. A person was appointed. They just towed the line.
Not an honorable. Oh, so when were you on the parking authority?
And I resigned the next day.
It was maybe 2017 to 2019.
All right,
I might have replaced you.
You might have.
Yeah.
So you were both looking for the same thing.
So the parking authority default was awful for the city, and Mayor Courtwright, who obviously he's in jail for all that fun stuff.
He's a ninja.
He is a ninja.
Yeah.
But he also walked the city out of its crisis, and he was the one who appointed me. And stabilizing the parking authority was a massive part of saving the city financially. Mm-hmm. So I was glad to be there for a part of it, because I was part of the monetization vote. And I remember talking to a Times reporter and saying, "Listen, we own too many garages, and we spent too much on the garages that we have." And I said, the paper always criticized Courtwright about everything, before the corruption even. And I said, why didn't the Times ever investigate this? he's like, it's before my time, but I wondered that too. That was the quote from the reporter.
So they did investigate it. I
I think-
found all the paperwork.
Oh, so they did.
They
but
did
they
investigate
didn't publish the.
No.
Jesus.
No.
Well, because they're too connected to.
Yeah, they're interconnected.
Listen, $52
families.
million in debt doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, they built these garages.
Somebody's
people got
family got real rich
people-
based on some decisions people were making.
Yeah,
And this isn't like a secret.
No, everybody knows.
yeah. Everyone knows.
So long story
So why
short,
doesn't
the legal counsel for the authority
Was it still Todd?
is paying himself to be the solicitor, which is a conflict of interest based on the bylaws of the parking authority. He appointed himself.
that I didn't
He
know.
appointed himself solicitor and is writing himself $30,000 a year in checks.
He appointed himself solicitor.
Mhm.
We appointed him solicitor. You can appoint-
No, he has the sole right to choose a solicitor as the executive director. You appointed him as executive director. He chose himself as solicitor.
He was our solicitor when we gave him that power.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that could be used
Yeah.
that way.
So, as the executive
Oh.
director, you cannot be paid.
So that's how he's getting his money. Okay. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
so he's still doing that.
Isn't this fucking wild?
And so I was
it
like,
is a weird ass world, man.
I told everybody, like, this is what's going on. The guy, by the way, the guy who was the lawyer for our ex-mayor, who's now in prison for financial crimes, is paying himself a check in a role that, according to the bylaws, he is not allowed to receive funding for. It just seemed a little all, not above board.
And this is why people think I'm crazy, because I'm looking at all this shit and I'm like, this is fucked.
Why do
like,
people
this
think
is-
you're crazy?
Well, because
Is it the beard?
No, the beard was my reaction to people think I'm crazy. I was like, it's like Kanye.
Dress
I'm like,
for the job you want.
I did like the Kanye thing where I'm like, you want to see fucking crazy? I'll show you crazy.
No, I don't think you're crazy. Everything is awful, and we all acknowledge that.
Yeah, that'll be my campaign.
See,
slogan.
so then, like you have people like us, like who we're just four dudes in a room, but like we can see it, and I have to imagine that like maybe I'm assuming these conversations are happening all over the place in this city. It's just not recorded because no one's as crazy as we are. I don't understand, like, especially with the way the world's going right now. Forget about like politics, but like the money, like your taxes, how much money we're spending on crazy shit, how much eggs are costing, how much like that, all that crazy shit. And I don't know if that comes with me and my age, or that's just something like I just realized during COVID, where I'm like, what is going on
Probably both.
in our world? Like, I've always been naturally curious, but I never really was like, oh, they're all corrupt. They're all out for themselves. Meanwhile, the people who put them in office are getting screwed.
Yeah, and it's
Like when you told me that thing about Roe earlier, the first thing that came to my mind was, who's the one that's affected by that? It's the lower income kids.
Yep.
And those are the ones that like, they're like, we fight for them. We want to help you. We want to, and
equity.
equity. And the first thing you do is you literally fuck them in the ass without taking the dildo out of the box. And you go,
that's
okay.
aggressive.
Wow, that was really
That's
aggressive. That was very aggressive.
Hey man, all I'm telling you is square peg, round hole. Doesn't work. That's all I'm saying.
I really appreciate your usage of figurative language.
That's the only way I know how to
As
talk.
an English teacher.
As an English teacher, I approve.
You're welcome. Like you mentioned before, ripples. They see the first ripple. They don't see the sixth or the seventh ripple.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not see that the logical consequence of that decision is going to be lower income families are going to get screwed
Well,
by that?
just like
when you're in the foxhole, you're worried about the closest bullet. You're
Yeah,
not
but they're-
thinking about the one that's coming 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, but they're not
or a
in the
year from now.
foxhole. They're enriching themselves
No,
through policy.
I'm saying the people that are voting for these people.
Oh yeah.
Like they are grasping at straws to figure. They're living paycheck to paycheck, if that. Grasping at straws, trying to figure it out. So somebody comes along who says, "I will help you out if you vote for me." Fine. They don't have time to look into it.
Yeah, they don't have time to look into it, and a lot of it is like name recognition. Oh, that last name is familiar. With the Scranton PAC, they sent like so many mailers right before the election that everybody, if that's how all those people on those mailers got all the votes.
You repeated 3 times.
Yeah, they did it 5, but yes, one of your compatriots was there. You're in the business, was their manager.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Phil.
Not me.
No,
But I mean, but it all, it's just so fucking frustrating because like you have these people in there who are supposed to be doing the will of the people and supposed to have the people's best interests at heart. And it's not that way.
they might think they do. That's the thing that bothers me.
But that's the thing that scares the shit out of me.
That bothers the shit out of me.
Because that scares the shit out of me because you believe that you're right doing the wrong thing. Like, good luck trying to change your mind on
How
that.
broken is your moral compass?
Yeah, and
Mine?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying those people. No, you're good. I know
Yeah.
yours is just.
yeah, well, like you're
I'm
talking about.
magnetic north.
We're talking about long-term consequences. Think about libraries. Now, you could say that I'm biased as an English teacher, but
I think books are important in school.
good. Scranton doesn't. You know, they got rid of every librarian. They dismantled the library at Scranton High School, and I really wish I knew. Some of the books that they have there are rare and not digitized. If they had done like a sale, I would have gone and bought some. They have really cool old books about the history of Lackawanna County and Scranton. Like, and I'm talking like 1800s.
I'd love to see those.
Yeah, well, they probably are in the
They're
garbage.
burned?
Yeah, they're probably in the garbage somewhere, along with all the instruments that they no longer use.
Nazi Germany came to Scranton and was like, we will burn all the books about our history.
Yeah, so like
You will know nothing and you will enjoy it.
and that's another equity issue. Let's take the library. Ty brought this up. Let's take the library, which everyone can use, and dismantle it and put in a STEM academy, which only the elite few will use. And
Which
that's
is science, technology,
engineering and
math.
And like, I'm not against the STEM program, but you just close Bancroft. Put it in fucking Bancroft. Don't destroy my library. You know, like, kids also go to library for like solace, for peace, for a chance to read quietly during a study, to just like
to make out with chicks.
well, like,
What's one reason?
and to make out with chicks.
Rare reason, but a good one.
Yeah, but if think about what a kid goes through in a day. You're gonna learn Euclidean geometry. You're gonna run a mile. You're gonna learn Shakespeare. You're going to dissect a frog. You're gonna learn like the text of the Constitution. Like, that sounds exhausting.
Yeah, you need a break. You need a meditation moment.
And what do you
reflection.
think? And what do you think a library is?
It's a quiet place to do that.
refuge.
Yeah, and they dismantled that, and they don't think of
But did they dismantle it to save money?
No, they dismantled it to put in a STEM program, and
Yeah, but was there money coming in? Who got paid for that?
Oh, there's STEM money floating around.
Who got
sure.
paid for that?
I don't know if they got grant money for that. Actually, I think they just paid for it themselves.
Yeah, we don't need books. We need you. We need you, diligent workers. We need to teach you how to do
so these
windmills.
So they need libraries. You just need it. But again, long-term consequence. Never thought about it. And guess how reading scores have looked since we got rid of libraries?
I have a great question for you. What has the reading and math skills of the last 10 years look like, including COVID?
Complete collapse.
From what to what?
Before
what,
COVID.
But so how can you relate that so I would understand as someone who doesn't understand?
All right. I think newspaper.
Because I was debating on sending a FOIA.
The average newspaper, I believe, writes at a 5th grade reading level. I believe the New York Times might be an 8th grade reading level.
Because they're snooty.
Yes, because they're snooty.
And wrong.
Yeah. The gray lady's not what she used to be.
No.
So
the Gray Lady.
That's
a great nickname for that paper.
That is what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. Now she's just a cunt.
Jesus Christ. Mark.
Why is that wrong?
You're on one today.
If you're in Europe, it's like a term of endearment.
No, in Australia.
No, in Europe. If you're like in England,
Ireland.
they call everybody that.
I don't
No,
see
they
the
don't.
queen on my fucking money, so back the fuck up.
All right. I just wanted to say it on this show once.
There you go.
Well,
Get over it.
Well, now my
canceled.
kids can't listen.
You already dropped an effort. You're fine.
I think if we're gonna rank curse words,
I don't know.
that sits at the top of.
Yeah, that's higher.
That's the one.
Vote for me in the primary. I don't understand.
Total side note, my son told me that he learned the worst curse word yesterday at school.
What is it?
And I said, well, I don't want you to say it. He's like, it's the TH word. I have no idea what the TH word is.
TH?
Twunt?
I have no idea what the TH word is. And I'm like,
Phoebians?
I'm like, I'll give you
Thick?
a pass. I'm like, I'll give you a pass. He's 5. I'm like, I'll give you a pass. You can tell me what it is. He's like, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
So
TH.
I'm like, what is the TH word?
How old's your son?
5.
I don't know the TH word.
You think it's like thought? THOT?
Oh, thought.
I know
is
what a thought is, but that's something else.
Like a thought, like a
That's the curse
that
word.
hoe over
Don't
there
think.
or whatever.
yeah, like that
That's
twerking
the,
ass bitch.
that's the only thing I could think of. Anyway, sorry to go.
No,
far
go
afield.
back. I forget where we were, so keep going.
I mean, there's a million things that we have discussed at this.
No,
juncture.
I mentioned just to save money. I think that's what I was talking about. So they got rid of it to save money.
They cut librarians to save money. But here's the thing: they're also certified teachers, so they just move them into other teaching jobs. So they're still there. They're just teaching classes instead of manning a library. But man, as a teacher who watched his district dismantle libraries and kids be like, when in the early days of my career at Riverside, like I would have kids ask me about books and I was like, I recommend this, go do this. And if they didn't have it in the librarian would order it, and I would see the kids sitting and reading.
Which is what you want.
Got rid of the librarian. Guess how often I saw kids sitting and reading? Never. Stopped entirely. Because, this new book came in. You're going to love it. Try it. She would do that. And like, if you got a $222 million budget, when we were struggling, the first year of a surplus was my year in 2019. We had a $500,000 surplus. Last year was like $9 million as a surplus, and they're not using it. They're saving it. They have a massive general fund balance.
Why?
There's this stupid thing that they keep saying that it's recommended that you have a percentage of your operating budget as a general fund balance just in case.
Yeah.
And I get that to an extent, but I think they're sitting on 17 million. And I feel like if I'm paying taxes and you've got so much extra money, you either lower the taxes or you spend it on shit. So if you're pulling in extra money like this on like yearly, give me my preschool back, please. Give me my libraries, please. Restore my music programs. My God, the West Band used to be awesome. It used to be huge. Those kids wanted to go to Penn State because they respected the Blue Band. That's how great the program was. Now there's barely anybody in the West Scranton Marching Band because they used to give you instruments in 4th grade. Now you get a music appreciation class from 5th through 8th, and then you can get into it in 9th grade. Sorry, you're not going to become a master of an instrument if you start learning in 9th grade.
On a personal note, I will say this. So my daughter, she's in show choir at Scranton.
Oh my God. That is legendary.
While you're bragging, I'm going to pee.
Okay.
You go pee. That's a legendary group. Good for your daughter.
So she's
awesome.
she's the lead vocal captain.
Oh my God.
As
Congratulations.
She's a real good singer.
Good for you.
And it was in the paper. The guy who heads up the whole program,
he's leaving.
He got a job making more money, and just because they don't pay their teachers enough. Never before has Scranton Show Choir have they ever won a competition ever in the history of the program. They've always been historically good, getting better recently, but never won a competition. They've had 3 so far this year. They've come first in all of them. And it's like, what are we doing?
Give him.
What are we doing?
What is he asking for? $5,000?
He needs like $30,000 a year to stay. That's it. He got a crazy, but he's getting what he's worth.
Oh, sure. And that's the thing. Pay people what they're worth.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And he probably would have stayed
he would stay for half of that.
For half of that. Because
and you have a $9 million surplus.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. So I don't know, what grade's your daughter in?
She's a junior.
Yeah. So next year she's not going to have this guy.
Correct. Her senior year.
And they're not going to get anybody that can do what this guy does.
Right.
And or if they do, it's not going to be as good. Because to get quality, you pay for quality.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to lie. After having 2 glasses of that cider, I'm a little sleepy.
Can I get a third?
A little sleepy.
No, he's done. He's
so it's gone. So it might be the appropriate time.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Can I say something real quick?
I just want to watch you guys kill yourselves.
So the scary thing about like a governmental body having a surplus, right, is like I didn't know they had that much of a surplus. And I tend to pay attention to some of these things,
actually.
Right? So the scary thing is like if they want to save it for a rainy day, what eventually is going to happen is they're going to spend it on something stupid, something that has nothing to do with the enrichment of the children's experience, or because it's always what happens. It's like you get this surplus of, and we're like, oh, we need to build a new school or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that's the direction that Dr. Feiner wanted to take the district, because that is so I believe she wanted to make another mega elementary like trip, which I'm sorry, don't kill the neighborhood schools, but there's so much contract money, so much money in construction. So, you're going to have, engineers, architects getting fees, money,
Yeah.
You got to bring in the consultants, fees, money. You got to bring in.
It's gluttony. It's gluttony.
And the thing is, I'm sorry, rehabbing Bancroft would have been something like $2.7 million. They're having to build an expansion on Morris for millions because we now don't have
Robert Morris.
Yeah,
that's where I went to grade school.
You agree?
They're building where are they building that expansion?
I don't actually know, but and these things are fluid and they do change because we're out of recovery. But they have, you guys know about the trailer park at West Intermediate, right?
No.
Trailer park?
So so they close.
I know there's trailers there. Yeah.
Yeah. They're falling apart. They closed Bancroft.
Oh, they have like outdoor educational.
Yeah.
This isn't Seminole County, Florida. Why are they doing that?
Closed Bancroft, moved everyone to Tripp. Tripp bursting at the seams, built a trailer park for millions at West Intermediate, and you got all the 5th grade in there. They looked great at first, but when you have hundreds of kids going in and out day after day after day, they're collapsing.
They're wear down
apart.
quick.
They're also not very safe. We're living in an era where school safety matters, and I'm sorry, these like shit.
It's fish in a barrel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These shit little walls. It's not good.
Yeah, I watched Lethal Weapon. I saw what happened to Riggs's.
You know, and you think about that, and that why? So the board had to spend millions to build that temporary structure that they don't own. They're renting it when they could have spent those millions saving Bancroft, and they just didn't. And this is why I find their behavior to be unconscionable. This is why, like, I don't even like them. You know, it was funny, like you can tell. But the thing is, like, I used to be able to like look past it and be like, this person's a good person. You know, they're struggling to take care of their family. But I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm done making excuses for you. You're really shitty at this. You're very bad. You have caused problems. You've raised our taxes and not given us anything for it. Since I was a kid, my mom was like, taxes will give you, your education. I remember her specifically saying that. I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense. I love my violin class. Taxes got me that. But what are you getting? How is it that we, when we were young, had more then than my son has now? How the frig is that right?
It's not.
It's not.
I think most people, like, we talk to all sorts of people and some people are like, smaller government, bigger government, more taxes, less taxes. I think that the majority of people, the 60 to 70% of the normal people that live in the middle would look at this and say, as long as I'm getting good value for my dollar on my taxes, I'm okay with paying a little bit more.
Of course.
We live in Scranton where we pay a lot more, as a business owner, a ton more, but if we were getting a return on that investment, okay, that's great. But we have broken down roads, broken down school systems. We have we have a city hall that's locked. You're not even allowed to go in. It's just insane. The whole thing is broken.
What's how's that for public service?
Yeah. It's the whole thing is a mess.
This is why it makes people like.
She's auditioning for her upgrade.
Do you think it's going to be Fetterman's job?
No, I think that's bullshit. And everyone's like, oh, and okay. And
is there a possibility?
Well, hold on. Number one, would I kick her upstairs just to get her out of Scranton? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. As a business person, like, I don't even want to do business in Scranton. Right. And I don't.
It's awful.
Electric City Ciderworks, Old Forge, PA. Yeah. There's a reason.
Yeah.
But the reason that won't happen, we already have a senator from Scranton. There's no way Josh Shapiro would ever put her there because you would have two Scrantonians. And that would absolutely piss off Philly and Pittsburgh. Especially
do you think it'll be Fetterman's wife?
I actually think that's the smartest choice for him.
Terrible choice.
I mean, it's the smartest political choice for Shapiro.
Yeah, okay. Strategery.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think it'll be Paige. She's going somewhere else though. She's not interested in being here.
No,
everything is a photo op. It's all look, style, no substance.
I've never met her. I kind of like
never met her.
Not really. No. I don't know. But I like
make an appointment at City Hall.
I can't get in. We just a quick story. Me and Micah were shooting BBs in the back of his yard.
I live in Scranton.
Me and Micah were up in the hills of Montgomery, Alabama.
Which is the hill section.
I almost said. Well, anyways,
you're bad at this.
I didn't know that was. I don't even know if I don't know.
You can't even buy them in the city.
Well, that was my thing. So like,
you were in the Abingtons.
Allegedly, you guys were shooting BBs in Micah's backyard.
Yeah. Allegedly, and it was very strange to me because I didn't think anything of it. So we go to buy more BBs. And we get up to, what was it, Field and Stream? Or
Dick's? Field and Stream, whatever.
One of those, where Sears used to be up at the Viewmont Mall.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So we walked in and we're like, hey guys, do you have any BBs? And they're like, we don't sell them here. And we're like, what? And I'm like, why? He goes, ask your mayor. And we're like, what? So he yells over to the other guy at the front desk. And he goes, yo, come on over here and tell him about Portland Barbie. And I was like, what? What? You guys are working the counter and you're talking like that? Which means that like there's either there is a perception, whether it's correct or incorrect, there is a negative perception there. And I don't know if she's helping.
What did she do? Was she called?
So okay, so apparently what happened is they passed some sort of ordinance or something like that where you can't have BBs, you can't sell BBs in the city of Scranton because you can use it on an IED.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I could throw a rock at an IED.
You're just as frazzled as we are about that assessment.
Mm-hmm.
There was something, because all it is, it's about getting government money to do good things. You know, you think you're doing a good thing where you're like, we need to stop terrorism in Scranton. So
you get government funding if you take away.
So you give government funding if you take things
weapons.
away. Which is bizarre.
I really think the biggest terroristic threat we're going to face in Scranton is going to be like government. The drunks taking a shit on the street on St. Patrick's Day.
Speaking of which, St. Patrick's Day coming right up. You know where you can recover from your big day of drinking?
No. St. Patrick's Day you should go to
drinking the
Ciderworks.
Electric City Ciderworks.
And then when you feel terrible the next day, Drip Bar, where you can get an IV infusion of a hangover remedy.
Or just take a big...
All right, I'm going to do it. Dan, do you want to? So after all this misery, we're going to try to do something crazy. Do you have any interest in doing this? Sponsors. You have no interest in doing this?
No, not at all.
This is a strong one.
Is it?
So listen, right there, just go for it. Don't think twice.
How big
tell the audience what you're even doing.
No, it's smelling salts.
Yeah.
It's called Skull Smash.
So we were talking about this earlier.
American whiskey scent.
Dan, when he played sports in high school, he uses it. Me, like before I work out, I'll sometimes use it. No, Mark, you got to get right in there.
Oh, it's ammonia.
Yeah.
I'm used to ammonia. I'm surrounded by cat piss. Oh, here, Dan, you want to try it?
Sure. Let's see.
Make sure you put the camera on you.
Okay. There we go.
Get deep.
So we got.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Skull Smash.
Skull Smash.
Ready?
She said that too.
Oh. That's good.
So, funny story.
Give one more. You got to get a big one, though.
It burns your face.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, I suffered through it. So, back in the day, so my family owned a steel business, right? Oh,
yeah. Tell me more.
What they do with it?
So my dad owned a steel business, and they had
that was until recently, right?
That's like less than 10 years ago. Well, he retired.
Did he sell it or close it?
Sold to like the family, so it's not like a big deal.
Gotcha.
So they had a room in the back, and in the back, when I was a kid, we would make blueprints. And when you make blueprints, the Velux. Do you ever hear of Velux? Not Velux. Shit.
That's why I didn't hear of it. It's not real.
So there's a blueprint, and then there's a vellum. Maybe it's vellum.
Yeah.
Vellum.
Vellum.
Yeah. So that the agitator that you put it through is ammonia, and there was no vent.
Oh.
So like we'd be back there for like 8 hours.
That's
and just
why
as
you're crazy.
Yeah, as we're walking out, we're just like our eyes are bloodshot, and it was like me and my cousin Matthew. Like, it was just like. And then one day my father comes in, he's like, there's a switch for the vent there, right? And I'm like, something you should have fucking told me at the beginning.
That's funny. And terrible.
I don't know how to. The only way I know how to fix this is for good people to get engaged and involved.
I wish they would. I am very sorry that it's 5 people running for 5 seats. I'm very sorry about that. I really wish more good people would run.
Well, one of us might be running by the time this releases, so who knows?
I'll go get some more cider and we'll convince Micah to get the 10 signatures.
I can get that tonight.
I could get that. Yeah.
All you have to do go down to the county office, request your petitions, get those 10 signatures. You can get 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans. You'll cross file because it's technically supposed to be nonpartisan, and you can rock and roll.
Do you think that that you need somebody like one of us lunatics to do that?
Well, first of all, you're not.
I mean, does it increase the chances of success of the Scranton School District?
Actually, yes, because you would ask questions, and that have you watched a board meeting?
I was watching one before you came in.
Oh
my God. The other one.
The half of them, they'll sit there and like the questions they'll ask will be like softball questions that they prearranged with like Dr. Finan. Dr. Finan, if we don't listen to everything you say, will we go into receivership and destroy the city of Scranton and everything as we know it and love in this area? Like, and that's a Fox question. She says once a week, and finally be like, yes, everything that you love will die if you don't do what I said. And it happens all the freaking time. And it's like, anyone with half a brain who pays attention knows what you're doing there, Catherine. You pre-plan this and you're trying to scaremonger votes. And it doesn't have to be that way. What you need to do is ask questions, but questions with the intent to not just get an answer, but get a solution. And I don't see that with these people. Most of them. Again, Ty's doing a good job. Danielle's good at asking questions. Sean does an excellent job. I mean,
he came out of nowhere. Like I was never paying attention to him. And then all
can't
of a
believe
sudden
you haven't asked him on the podcast.
I think we have. I think we've reached out.
Nope. He told me no.
We've reached out via
Who?
Well, then I'm going to blame the Greek.
Who?
Sean.
Oh,
Sean McAndrew?
Yeah, because Alex is like, oh, yo, bro, I'll reach out to him.
Have him on.
yeah.
I'd happily do it.
Yeah,
I'd happily have him on.
I'll tell him.
Because then I think
Tell
next
him to get over here.
I think next week's podcast is about schools too.
Oh, what's next week?
Citizens Advisory Council. They're like a group on
CAC.
Well, sure.
That's the worst acronym ever.
I don't think they care.
Well, I mean, sure.
But
still,
the Film Actors Guild.
Matt Damon.
I know you got to get out of here. Is there hope? Is there? What do you think?
No.
Honestly, like.
No, I mean, if you run, I would say yes. But as it stands, no. Seriously, and I'm not even trying to be funny. If those people run unopposed, nothing changes. Like literally, nothing changes
Because the good people are still there, and they can't be effective because
there's not enough.
They need the votes.
Because you functionally have Roe, who's a swing
Who's
vote.
defeatable?
Oh God, Roe is very defeatable.
You think so?
She just told a group of children they can't have pizza and they can't go to a basketball game. I mean, think of how awful that.
Do you think
people are furious?
Do you think it pisses off parents that she did that?
Oh my God!
So
go on Facebook. Everyone's going nuts.
So you think? So do you know, or do you think that the reason to not do that is because of that it was just personal against?
I know.
That teacher?
It's absolutely
like without a doubt,
no question whatsoever. There's
somebody high up told them.
I mean,
no,
and I don't even know if it was higher up. Like Roskis has so many wins against the district that all of those people don't like him because he makes them look like shit, which they deserve. And so they just perpetuate this anti-Roskis shit. They suspended him. Oh my God. They suspended him like maybe a year or two ago, and he won this lawsuit and made another like 40 grand. But they suspended him for
it's his favorite job,
giving an award, a monetary award
in the paper.
To a child, like which he's done. It's in like his dad's honor. Like it's a sports scholarship. And they're like, we're going to suspend you for giving the sports scholarship because it's a violation of your settlement. You're not supposed to coach. He's like, I'm giving a scholarship outside of school time and hours to a kid in the school. And
the United Neighborhood Center.
They suspended him like unpaid from work. So he sued and won. And he just, like I said, I think he's 23-0.
He just can't stop winning.
He can't stop winning ever.
I'd love to have him on the show, but I'd be afraid he gets suspended.
He can't violate,
will you talk to McAndrew, see if he'd like to come chat?
He would absolutely love it. He listens to your podcast.
Does he really?
He does. He's like, they haven't had one.
Sean, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's like, they haven't had one in a while. I really enjoy their stuff.
Sean, this is the moment where you like, share, and comment that you will be on our show.
Yeah. There you go.
If you could do that.
We would like to officially make the announcement now, though. I think.
Yeah,
we are going to have Sean on the podcast.
I hope so. Yeah. My fingers are crossed.
That's all we can commit to right now.
Maybe when I get back.
Guaranteed he'll be a little more cautious than I've been.
Oh,
yeah, but
he also
I understand that.
But he is also very willing to challenge the status quo. I mean, his quote in the paper today, like he made them look like shitheads, which they are.
Yeah.
All right.
Good for him.
So there is no hope. We're screwed.
Unless you run.
Well,
help me,
Batman.
Help me, Marky Denenbaum. You're my only hope.
Yeah, but that was just like a hologram.
You have to go save the kids.
You're real, so you're better.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
You really should. Tomorrow you would get your petitions. I mean, you could technically do it on Monday.
I don't like the scrutiny.
Who gives a shit?
I do.
What are you gonna? What? Oh, you don't like attention? That's
not about attention. It's about I don't. Here's what the thing. I don't like getting myself involved in things that
you could get pushback on.
Not that I would get pushback on it. I'd feel very frustrated by my lack of ability to be effective.
Yeah.
No. Well, first of all, I'll help.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Tom step in for me here.
I sent to proxy this evening.
Can I do that?
No, you can't. But that would be funny as shit.
Yeah,
damn it,
Micah, Marky. Why do you have 4 laptops? Oh, we got Tom on Zoom.
Yeah,
we got a couple of.
We're just discussing it with our council.
I'll watch a meeting live and text you.
I'll debate it. I'll debate whether or not I'm interested in doing this because I think they have forms in other places that aren't at the county to give me time.
We really,
or to give Micah time.
We really do need people. So I would.
I mean, dude, Ty's willing to do it.
Who?
Ty's your boy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to high five on stage?
Help your boy.
Dan, we do right before we get off. We do how many? So that on that computer screen is the last Scranton school board meeting. How many views are on that on YouTube? In the bottom left,
71.
You really
181.
That's it.
That's still nobody watches them.
That's it.
Nobody watches them.
Nobody pays attention to it.
Which really sucks. They were actually going to shut it down because nobody watched, and I'm like, no, you have to have this live.
I think it's illegal to shut it down. Isn't it?
No, they are not legally obligated to broadcast it live because you can go. That's all they're legally obligated to do. Allow you to show up.
Can I still do the podcast if I?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I would encourage it even more.
That's what I'm saying. You'll get more listens.
Yeah.
All that scrutiny.
I don't want it to be a springboard for anything though.
You don't need it to be a springboard for anything other than doing the Lord's work.
How do you cross people? I'm not Catholic. I don't know how this works.
Tom, every time we sit and chat, it's a pleasure and a delight, and I love you to death.
Yeah, I love you guys too. This is always a ball, and I get to talk about people that I loathe with people that I love.
It's the American dream, man.
That should actually be the What a Week tagline.
Yeah.
Talking about people that we loathe with people that we love.
Dan, you want to work on that?
Copyright What a Week podcast.
Thank you, sir, for everything. And you're it's doing well. The cidery, everything.
It's going great. We're having a ball. We're in a lot of bars. We got a wait list.
What's the address? How can we get people there in the website?
945 South Main, right by the river in Old Forge.
And then do you have a website?
We do. electricityciderworks.com.
Everybody got to go check that out.
And we're on the book and the
Ooh, are you on the gram?
And the gram.
Nice.
Are you on the talk?
Not yet, but I believe that will happen because I think we want to make cool production videos.
They're going to shut them down soon. They're going to shut TikTok down probably. You should get on Twitter. I'm telling you. I think
I'm
it's
on
the
Twitter
future.
personally, but
do you follow me?
Yeah,
I post crazy shit.
You do,
see it?
and you retweet fucking everything
because I think everybody needs to see it.
My feed is just your retweets.
Yeah, I follow two people on Twitter.
Are any of them valid?
I mean, I enjoy some of them. I can't read them all because I don't have
a lot.
I don't have. There's only 24 hours in a day.
4 hours a day to spare.
Well, you know what it is? It's like I'm going through, and then like the algorithm just gives me like the shit that I find relevant, and then I just boom, 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 boom. So it looks like there's in like 3 minutes I did like 12. So it looks like I'm nuts.
He's not actually reading the articles. He's just
I'm just a headline guy.
if there's something that intrigues me, of course I check it out.
No.
But I often don't. I mean, like there's usually like 30 of them. I log like I'm on twice a day, and I'm like, oh my god.
See, so it's really strange to me, like in this current climate where like the cancel stuff and people are, I want to go find out where it came from. Like if there is a headline that's like whatever, I'm like, I want to go. Where's the source?
Go to the source.
All that shit. It's just I find it really frustrating that you can't do that around here.
Yeah.
Like for the local stuff, you're like, where did this information come from? We're just getting a like third, fourth, fifth hand knowledge from a first person perspective.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't disseminate between truth and fiction. That's what I find frustrating because I can kind of see the matrix outside of the area, but in the area, I can't see it.
Well, then join the school board and dig.
I don't know. Maybe I should call Ty.
Do it.
100%. You should call Ty first.
I miss him.
Maybe talk to your wife.
I don't think she'll care.
Okay.
She'd probably be like this. Whatever you want to do.
She's a lovely and supportive woman.
Yeah. She's the best.
Amen.
Russians. Dan, you want to say it?
What a week.